Hi, I'm Nancy Sieber from Mind Alive,
I'm
and,
Mary Ann.
and we're here today with Randy Vawdrey from A Mind for All Seasons. And we've asked Randy to join us today to talk a little bit about how he uses audiovisual entrainment in his center. And so, Randy, welcome, and thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your little show and your program, and look forward to share our experience.
So yeah, maybe you can tell me a little bit about your center and maybe share some stories you've got.
Perfect. A Mind for All Seasons is a company that focuses on neurological disorders, specifically Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. I'm a certified medicine practitioner, which means there's a protocol that was established by a neurologist from UCLA that helps people prevent and even unravel Alzheimer's dementia. It's a focus on Alzheimer's, but it really leads into all forms of dementia, whether that be Lewy body or Parkinson's or CTE or stroke or so forth. And the traditional perception is that when you get Alzheimer's disease, you're host. There's nothing you can do. But the reality is there is so much that can be done, and it's just a lot of work. So you have to have a healthcare provider that is willing to be patient enough to work through all of the risk factors and challenges and lab work and then unravel that with you. And we've had many patients who started with very poor cognitive dysfunction, and they gain it back, and it's remarkable. So that's my practice. We're located in Boise, Idaho, and I have a practice also in Pocatello, Idaho. So I cover both sides of the state, and almost all of our clients are people with some form of dementia or cognitive dysfunction. And in our center, I do a traditional maybe doctor-patient relationship, but in our center, we have therapeutic devices that people can come on and participate in that help improve their cognitive function, and audiovisual entrainment using your digital devices is one of the favorites. So that's kind of a short summary of our practice and who we take care of and how we implement our service.
Great, thanks. And so do you have any special stories that you'd like to share with us about some results that you've received using the AVE?
Yeah, I'd love to. I sat down with my staff and we talked about, let's identify some experiences, particularly with this treatment protocol and how people have done. And so I thought I would give you 5 or 6 because we take care of people that range from the age of 50 to maybe 90 years old, all kinds of challenges. So I'll give you an extreme example to start out with. We have a lady that lives in an assisted living center with her husband, and she's very impaired from a mental health standpoint. She's got advanced dementia, and it seemed to get a lot worse during COVID, partly because she stopped coming to our center and had to shelter in place, and so she just didn't seem to do very well. And during that time, her doctor started her on some antipsychotic medications. For those of you who may not be as familiar with dementia and antipsychotic medications, they do not mix very well. That's actually a real challenge and a problem because people either get movement disorders or Parkinsonism, they get very stiff, they're at higher risk for falls, you name it. And her husband specifically said, when she was doing the audiovisual entrainment, her mood was so much better and her sleep was so much better that we didn't need these medicines. And now that we're on these medicines, I want her to come back to your center to get her off of them. And I think it was a pretty cool statement because they're both quite senior. I think she's in her 80s and she's very impaired. But as she started coming back to the center and using audiovisual entrainment, she's been able to get off some of the medicines that created terrible side effects for her, and she's doing really well. She's sleeping better. She doesn't seem to sundown and get as confused at night. She's certainly not as irritable with her husband. And so just reducing the caregiver burden in her case has been a remarkable benefit of the entrainment.
Wonderful.
We have a gentleman that comes to our clinic with kind of a moderate dementia, And he is the quintessential example of a grumpy old man. He's just straight up mean. And when he comes to the clinic, he grumbles and growls and he snarls at everyone and he doesn't want to do the treatment and he's cursing his wife that she made him come and so forth. And we start with audio-visual entrainment because it's almost as if his volume turns all the way down. He starts up a grumpy old man level of 9 out of 10 where you just want to slap him because he's ticking you off. And we do 20 minutes of audio-visual entrainment, and the volume goes down to a 3. And then everyone can tolerate him, right? You think, right, this is really a nice thing to do. And his wife has said a couple of times, I can't live without him coming here because I can't stand to be with him all the time because that's part of his dementia is he just gets really mean. And she has noticed that his mood has dramatically changed as he has participated in audio-visual entrainment. So we always start with that intervention.
Wonderful. Wow. That's impressive.
I'll share maybe 2 more and younger individuals. So we had one individual that was a financial comptroller for one of the local universities. And she noticed that she needed to come and get some tune-ups for her cognitive function because she had a hard time balancing her checkbook. And this lady had managed millions of dollars in budgets for the university year after year after year and could meticulously manage a spreadsheet. And when she couldn't do that anymore, she realized, dude, I'm not doing well. So she came and received treatment, and she had such a good experience with audio-visual entrainment that she bought her own device. So typically we just do treatments as a part of our service, and then it's not uncommon that individuals will say, God, that was so helpful. How much does this cost? Could I take one of these home and do it to wake up in the morning, right? They do a brain booster protocol to wake them up, and it's kind of like their morning cup of joe. And then when they're trying to settle down at night, they'll do a more calming, meditative sleep induction and just do so much better. So she's one that started at the center doing services, and she still joins us. She still comes and does services, but she purchased her own David Delight so that she could do services at home.
Wonderful. That is one of the great things about it, isn't it? That it is so portable and easy to use at home as well.
Yeah, the other thing that I don't know if I can say names of other devices. Can I?
Sure.
So I've used the Brain Driver, and I've used a Brain Tap, and I've used the David Delight Pro. And David Delight Pro is by far my favorite, and I'll tell you why. Number one, they're all kind of priced in a similar neighborhood. I think the Brain Tap and the David Delight Pro is probably within 10 to 15% pricing wise. But the thing I love about the David Delight Pro is I don't have to pay for a monthly subscription, and I can do as many treatments with one device in a daytime as I want. Whereas the Brain Tap, I have to download the sleep app, and then they charge $9 a month. Or I can download the Brain Booster app, and they charge $9 a month. And if you buy all of theirs, it's like $39 a month. And so I think, God, I don't love that. I have to pay to play every single month to use it. And I also didn't realize on the Brain Tap that if I use it and my wife uses it and my son uses it, we tap out because they'll only let you do so many programs in a day. And I lame. I bought it and I bought the subscription, and you still cap me at 5 treatments a day. So that ticked me off.
I did not know that.
That's true sauce, right? The second thing that I love about the David Delight is full disclosure. When you open up the user manual, Dave Seaver has meticulously told you what hertz you're training at, what your brain training is. And I think that's important because we have some people that might have obsessive compulsive disorder. I've got one lady that has OCD, and we put her on a sleep protocol at night, and it wound her up. She did not do well with that. And I realized that she probably functions at such a high threshold on her brain waves that to push her all the way down to a delta wave and try to do it quickly was agitating to her. And that shows you I'm a rookie. I'm kind of learning about how audio and visual entrainment works. And so we started doing SMR betas on her. And when I look at your user manual, it tells me what the hertz are so that I can say, okay, you feel really good at this level, then I know that that is kind of maybe a high alpha, low beta, and that's where you do best. I would not know that if I did the brain tap, right? I would disclose what their hertz wavelengths are. They don't disclose any details or data about what their protocols are. And so we put that on the shelf and we use David Delights. And I think that we have 3 or 4 in the office, and I've probably purchased 10 devices in the last 90 days. And then we just have them there. We don't try to peddle them. But when people say, God, I love that device. I wish I could do that at home. We say, well, maybe you could. Here's so kind of cool.
That is. That's great.
I noticed on Instagram that you have a second station where people can lay down and run a session. That's great. Good to see.
Yeah, thanks. Marianne, something else that we've done is that we like to stack sessions. So sometimes when someone comes to our center, if they did each of the interventions that we have available, they could be at our center for 3 hours, right? Well, they don't want to be, even though we're nice people, they don't want to be with us for 3 hours, 3 days a week. We can do an audio-visual entrainment while they're doing a brain training exercise because we use some of the TrueView lenses so they can actually see. And so we can stimulate that brain and then do another intervention. And so we could do 2 interventions at the exact same time. And that's nice. That's really convenient for us, and it saves the patient some time as well. So I tell the patients, look, if you want to go to bed, you could do an audio-visual entrainment to put you in a really low alpha state, but you could read while you're going to bed. So those nighttime readers will read while they're doing audio-visual entrainment. And as they start to nod off, they just take their glasses off and hit the hay. And so that's a really nice benefit of the devices.
Here. Do you have a favorite session that you like to use for specific situations?
Well, in my work, I have days where I have to be super dialed in and really focus on a lot of variables. So in our system, we'll take a lot of lab work and a lot of genetic tests and a lot of like IgG food allergy testing, and then I build an individual treatment plan for someone. And sometimes I'm looking at 100 variables in one person with cognitive dysfunction, and I'm trying to say, okay, based on all this data, this is your intervention, your daily routine, your food. These are the things that I would encourage you to do. And just like in all of your work, you'll have days where you come in and you sit down to focus, and the phone rings, and your medical assistant comes to get you, and your wife sends you a text message, and you think, dude, I can't concentrate. I have to stay focused and dialed in. And so it's not uncommon that I come in my office and shut the door, and I will turn on one of the brain booster programs. I'm an SMR guy, so I like some of those brain boosters, either SMR 1, 2, and 3, and just turn that on with my TrueView glasses, and I will write my treatment summaries. And if I can keep people from the outside from coming in and a million questions, that helps me just really dial in. It's kind of like my my Ritalin, if you will. I don't take Ritalin, but it's a nice way to just focus me in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Randy, I just want to thank you again so much for joining us. We've had a lot of fun with this project that Mary and I are working on, where we get to meet and interview and talk with clinicians that are using our products. And it's just always so wonderful to hear all these great stories being shared. And hopefully this can be an inspiration to some other people out there how to use these devices. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for being with us today. We've really enjoyed hearing your stories.
No, you're sweet. Let me give a shout out to Dave Sievers. I live in Idaho, and I believe that you all are in, is it Toronto?
No, we're in Edmonton.
Edmonton, Canada, right? And sometimes when you're learning about new technology, it feels overwhelming because if you don't talk about hertz and pulse cycles and MR, beta, alpha waves every single day of your life, then you don't, it's overwhelming. And I had spent a couple hours reading about your stuff online and reading some of the studies. And one day I came to work and I called the office. And I probably spoke with one of you, but I said, is Dave there? Could I ask him some questions? And I'm like, sure. So Dave got on the phone and he spent an hour with me. And I thought, that guy is a stud. I am buying a device today, if for no other reason that he just spent some time answering my questions. He had no idea if I was going to be a client or make this. He was just genuinely interested in helping me to understand the value of audiovisual entrainment. And I mean, that to me, ultimate compliment. And the tricky thing is, now that we've said this, maybe someone else is going to want him to spend an hour with them on the phone. So I'm not proposing that that would happen, but I just want to thank you guys that you guys have been responsive and thoughtful and kind. And even when a clinician to clinician had some questions randomly without an appointment, I must have caught him at the right time. And so that's a big shout out to you guys. I appreciate that.
Well, I really appreciate that too. And I said, yeah, Dave loves to share. He loves to talk with people. And yeah, sometimes it's kind of that problem here for us too, because we're kind of like, okay, Dave, time.
Yeah, I could tell he's kind of a talker. And so I thought, man, I could ride bike with this guy. He's a mountain biker, right?
Yes.
I'm coming up to Edmonton just so we can go on a long ride together because he's a good dude. I could hang out with him.
That would be awesome. We'd love to have you come visit us. Absolutely.
Cool.
And so, okay. So again, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks so much. See you guys.
Bye.